All right. I'd like to start this session today by introducing myself, Miss Shavonda Griffin. And that's for some of you guys that may know me, some of you guys may not. But I have sitting with me today a legend in our community, Miss Val Buchand. And I wanted to do this interview because you have been doing such a great work in our community for so many years. You know, and just like I stated to you before, you look 21. But we know it's been over 30 years that you've been actively involved. We were running around in diapers, not even paying attention to what was going on, but you guys were out in the trenches fighting for us, fighting to even have this park here on MLK, you know. And for the great work and the great value that you brought to our community, you know, I wanted for our youth to understand that we have legendary people with us right now, legendary people with us today. It's not about who we see as far as in our history books. Of course, we are thankful for those people because they made the way then. But you guys are still continuing to make the way now. And without you guys doing what you've done in our communities, in our own backyards, we wouldn't be able to have all of this. So I want to just ask you a few questions so you can enlighten us on what it is that you've been doing actively in our community, you know, so that our youth can see and learn from you.
Well, I'll start from my beginning.
Okay.
In public housing, if I may.
Yes.
First of all, I want to thank you for that nice introduction. I just always call the work I do a passion.
Yes.
For me, never dreamed that I would ever be a legend or anything else.
Yes.
I was a single mom with children that I had to raise. I got in public housing by way of Mr. John Rivers.
Okay.
I was renting from Mr. Power, who, you know, didn't keep his places up, and I wasn't going to pay another dime.
Okay.
And so I said, Mr. John Rivers, I need somewhere to stay. So I got in public housing. And all we, back during that time, we put in work orders. They may get done. It might be a month or two along. They get done. But we had representatives then. But what happened is that Miss Mary
Mack?
No, Miss Mary, at the time, I forget her last name.
Okay.
But she was the property manager back during that time at public housing.
Okay.
And she asked me to finish out someone else's term because I said to her, listen, I don't want to be bothered. Them people going to do what they want to do.
Right.
And so what's the use?
Right.
Well, I was so wrong in those thoughts, but that's the only way that I could think because I hadn't been taught or showed no other way. So I had an opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. for a housing conference.
Okay.
And at that conference, I realized that residents in public housing had more rights than a regular, normal citizen in the community.
Right.
And so, upon coming back, we tried to have meetings and try to get people together and so forth and so on. But it was so hard getting the people together. Surely they would come together when they had a complaint, but just to come together to organize, it was very challenging. And so we went on. I began to go to every conference that I possibly could go to,
Okay.
so that I could learn and come back and try to put it into operation. Because I knew that we had to do something
Right.
For the people.
Right.
Many of our young people had told the roads when it come down to their family, going back home to their families, or they simply didn't have anywhere to go. They're trying to get them to understand how to keep their yard clean and all that. It's just been a long haul.
Yeah.
But I tell you, the Mays family, Geneva Mays and Doris Mays was there in public housing as well. And so, but it kept getting worse and worse.
Right.
And every time I went to a conference, I didn't sit quiet, because I will always raise my hand
There you go.
and talk about what's going on in Sarasota. And when I would go to these conferences, many times I would be told, well, the HUD guidelines say this or the guidelines say that. But I say, I'm telling you what's happening in Sarasota.
Absolutely.
And so we kept on, and so a documentary was made. This was years after, because I would write reports, I would send in complaints, and they actually blackballed me for a long time.
I could believe
But
that.
God made a way.
Out of no way.
God made a way, because some white children did a thesis
Okay.
at Booker High School.
About you.
No, about what we were living through in public housing.
Okay.
The sewage coming up out of the ground.
Oh my
where
God.
Children had to play. Trees growing in the pipes in the living room.
My God.
All kind of things, and it's just really sad that it took somebody else to do a thesis to bring in, but I do know God will use whatever tool
That's how He
takes
works.
to make it known. And so the documentary Condemned came into play, and it was just awesome. Everything was recorded and stuff like that, and we actually felt like we were on a plantation, because they told what to do, and anytime you made a fuss about anything, it was intimidation.
Right.
Like if I had a complaint, well, then all of a sudden I'm getting all these write-ups about my yard ain't clean or something going on in the house.
Right.
Only if you came out and opened up. And so my concern was that people shouldn't have to live like that. I don't care if they don't pay but 50 cents for rent.
That's it.
They should still be showed the same
Respect.
as others. So fast forward a little bit, I was part of the board that turned Sarasota Housing Authority to HUD, back in the HUD hands.
Okay.
Because it was so much going on, and our board at that time was so arrogant that they didn't want to hear. And so, but we've tried to have meetings. We've tried to bring the people together.
Hello.
I can remember the times of going to have a meeting, and yet people would sit on their porches with their beer in their hand,
Right.
looking at me going to the office to have a meeting, but they wouldn't come.
They were afraid.
They were afraid. So we were the voice that spoke out, and anybody that want to view that documentary called Condemned, they welcome to, and they can see firsthand. We had an attorney that would fight for the rights of the residents, but during that time, the government, the county, said to the lawyers, the legal aid, that if they funded, if they didn't get rid of this particular lady, that they wasn't gonna get any more funding, because she was winning the cases for the residents.
Good.
And so of course that stopped, and it was just so much corruption going on. And even today, I say, if the people that was the ED back then, if they would have been dealt with, the government wouldn't be crying broke, and they wouldn't be blaming poor people for the expenditure of all the dollars.
That's
because
correct.
Actually, a lot of corruption went on in HUD, that those dollars got misused all over the country.
And still today that's happening. Now, you know, you and I, we hadn't seen each other in a while, but we still were in communication. And I met you again not long ago on Valerie Lane.
Yes.
And I didn't realize Valerie Lane was Valerie's Lane.
Yes, ma'am.
So can you tell me and us that's watching in, basically how Valerie Lane came about?
Well, you know, we had a commission at that time that wanted to tear down, condemn Janie Poe. Because that place was called Janie Poe.
Right.
And they wanted to condemn it. Well, we had heard rumors that the art school wanted that property over there, but we couldn't. You know, I say the devil is a lie. You don't take our own last home.
Come on now.
And so, you know, through much prayer, because nothing that has happened without the Lord leading and guiding me, because I have done absolutely nothing on my own. And so we began to have all these meetings and stuff, and it was the residents that we came together, the Mazes and other people that was coming to the meeting at that time, back to during that time, and we had to come up with some names of the street, and so the citizens that was there at that meeting wanted to name a street after myself, and then the Watts.
Okay.
So that's how those names came about. But it was such a struggle even getting that bill, because when they wanted to condemn the place, the Lord blessed me to have a Janie Poe task force.
Come on.
And I had so many people behind, well, not me, but us.
Us.
Because more of me stayed in Christ. And so the Lord blessed us to have so many people behind us. And I would never know who they are.
Right.
Because of fear of losing their jobs.
Correct.
Or may not be able to socialize with them again. You know, way back then we were dealing with some of the same stuff we're dealing with right now.
Right now.
But they wrote letters. They made phone calls. They did whatever they had to do to help us to be successful with Janie's Garden.
Okay.
And so the Lord blessed me to even get Miss Janie Poe's son to come down, one of her sons to come down to the ribbon cutting of Janie's Garden. It has been a great struggle, but I wouldn't take a minute of it back.
Right.
And you know, oftentimes the people that you help, they don't always return the respect
and the appreciation.
And stuff. I mean, I've gotten cussed out by them and everything, but when they need help,
they run to you,
and I'm there to give it.
Now, you know, and oh God, blessed be to you, sweetheart, blessed be to you, because had not been, there wouldn't even be a section for people to have affordable housing.
That's right.
At this time. Because I can remember I was a little girl and I lived in Janie's garden, but at that time it was Janie Poe project. You know, so I can remember back then, and I can remember when they condemned and tore everything down and what the plans were. Right. So, you know, during that time, I was younger, but the fight was there. And I thank you guys so much for the fight and putting up and going through those trenches for us. Because, like I said again, what you know, a lot of those young people don't know that's living in Janie's Garden right now. You're still out there in the trenches. You're still out there with them. You didn't leave, although I know that you've been given ample opportunity to do so.
Yes.
But you stayed in the midst thereof, and you're still there in the midst thereof.
That's right.
You know, if you could say anything that could be a word of, I mean, just your presence alone is inspirational. But just a word of acknowledgement, a word of wisdom that you could share with a lot of the youth that really don't have a clear vision of just how important it is to value someone of your nature that has done so many great things in order for us to still have a roof over our head in our community today.
Well, what I would tell the youth, say to the youth, is to know who they are, and whatever their passion is, pursue it. Because, you know, I don't want them to eat from that table called control.
Correct.
Because when you lose your identity, you've lost everything.
There it is.
And don't let circumstances ever back you in a corner.
Right.
So I would say that to the youth. And to the elders, I would say to them, stand up for those kids.
Stand up.
Because, listen, it's not about a fight, but God has given us a better wisdom than we ever had years ago.
Correct.
It's a way to do things, but it's not about us.
It's not about us.
But we have to pray and see the Lord while He can be found.
Right.
And it's not in the church house. It's out here. It's out here in the community that we fight for justice. Correct. We all are condemned if it wasn't for Jesus. But the Lord gave us another opportunity.
That's it.
And we have to use that opportunity like it's our last. And so our children need to see who we really are.
That's it.
And if they don't ever see us standing up for anything, that we will sell out for anything, what future do we give them?
What future do we give them? What future do we give? And that's it, because, you know, I know that the talk of today is, I'm chasing the bag, I'm chasing that bag, I'm chasing that bag. And, you know, what our youth don't realize is that you don't have to chase the bag when you're chasing God. Because God already got the bag right there waiting for you. It's already been implemented and put in place. And it's not about the bag, but it's about the value of what you bring to the table. It's about the value of what you put out to your community. It's about the way that you treat people and what you receive back into return. So it's about those seeds that you're planting. And that's what you guys have done.
See, a lot of them don't know how to plant good seeds.
Correct.
Because some of their family members haven't planted good seeds.
That's good.
So now the challenge is, who do I look up to?
That's it.